It is late March and outdoors it is still surprisingly cold here for the time of year. We're not used to it. It's been much colder this winter than we usually get. Or I don't know, the winter's probably been normal, but spring is very late springing. But here inside the polytunnel, things are starting to get pretty hot. It doesn't take much sunshine to warm it up. Now, I had a lovely day at the garden centre the other day and treated myself to 2 new dahlias. Well, there's 3. I actually have 2 of this pink one, but I could only get 1 of this one. What's it called? Edinburgh. Now, I really like the look of the Edinburgh, but they only had 1, so that was all I could have. And the other one is Joey Gypsy, and that's a pack of 2, so I have 2 of these, and I'm going to get them potted up today. Now, I do have lots and lots of dahlia tubers that I put in storage for the winter, and you're supposed to check them every 3 or 4 weeks just to make sure that they're okay. I haven't looked at mine at all. I boxed them all up in November and I haven't seen them since, just sitting in their boxes. So I'll go and open them up in a moment, see what we find. Hopefully they've survived the winter and haven't gone all mouldy and rotten. So let's get these potted up and go and check on the ones that are stored in the shed. While I was at the garden centre, I also bought some shallots. I've got some red sun and is it gourmet? Yes, and a golden gourmet. I've not grown shallots for many years. I usually just plant normal standard onions, but decided I'd like to have some shallots this year. And I also got tempted by a bag of shallots in the supermarket. So I'm going to plant these as well and see what they do. I am aware that sometimes supermarket shallots are not true shallots. They're just small onions packaged up as shallots. So something to be aware of. And if these are small onions and not proper shallots, they'll probably flower and go to seed very quickly, rather than splitting and dividing the way shallots should. But I've got the space, so I'm going to plant them and see what they do. A bit of fun. Right, let's get these shallots out of the way and pot up my dahlias. Keep my packets so I know what they are. I've already prepared myself a mixture of compost and vermiculite. So in we go. So this is what you're looking for with your dahlia tubers. You've got this potatoey lumps at the bottom, the roots, the tubers, and from that there should be a hard woody stem that was last year's growing stem. Now, if you have any little potatoey bits that aren't attached to this hard woody stem, they're not going to grow, so we might as well just throw those away now. But this is ready to pot. We want to pot it up just so the compost is covering these tubers, and leave this wooden stemmy bit sticking out of the soil. A little tap down with my fingers just to firm things up, and a shake to get that compost in around those tubers. And I'll give this some water in a moment. I'll be ready to, and a label, and we'll be ready to go. Pop it up there. Throw those in the bin. Let's do the other 2. This second one has much longer shaped tubers. This is Joey Gypsy, the pink flowery dahlia. Again, another tuber not attached. And round here, this is looking pretty rough. There's just a few fibrousy bits holding it on. It's not really properly attached. So I'm going to cut this away. This is just going to rot. But the rest of this is looking quite good. And here's last year's growing stem. That's a shame. They get so bashed about in the packets. You're a bit black and sticky. I'm going to cut you off as well. This one that I've also just removed, I don't know how well the camera picks it up, but we're kind of black here, and I can feel it's all squishy and sticky like a slug. Oh yes, I can burst it open. Yuck. So that's not going to grow, it's all rotten. Let's check out the rest of this. How are we doing? Another little stringy one. And take those two off, little bits. Tidy this one up. It's got a lot of damage, this tuber. We'll plant it, see how we do. Let's see if its friend is any better. Although this one's smaller, it's looking a lot healthier. The tubers are firmly attached to this growing stem. Nice and fat and firm. So I have better hopes for the success of this one. Gather up all my rubbish and I'll put these bits in the compost. Let's go and check out my dahlia tubers in the shed and see how well they've fared over the winter. Well, here we are in the shed at the dahlias I packed up late last year. I think it was November, and I haven't been in these boxes since to look. You are supposed to check every 3 or 4 weeks just to make sure they're doing okay. Well, I haven't. So let's see how they got on.
I was fortunate enough to have lots of spare sheets of cardboard kicking around when I packed them up, so they got wrapped around my boxes as well.
No sign of mice or rats, which is good. But then with the amount of cats I've got, it's not likely. Let's see what we've got. Lots of sawdust. Tiny one. Nice and dry and firm. Excellent. I think any little ones I've got today that'll fit in small pots like the ones I've just potted, I will pot up today as well. Well, lots of tiny ones here. Little broken bits perhaps. It's like Christmas. Wow. And now this smaller one, this root here, is just all empty and hollow. So I'll get my secateurs actually and cut that away. But this other one's nice and firm. So not too bad. Lost one rooty tuber. So this hollow one, I'm just going to cut it away. It'll only rot in the plant pot. If I can. There we go. That's rubbish. All the small ones at the top. What's it smell like? Just smells of sawdust. Doesn't smell of mould, so that's excellent. There we go, slightly better position to see. Now I've pulled a few small ones out the top. I'm going to scoop off some of this sawdust.
Oh, another little one. There we go.
Oh, one of my bigger ones. Lovely. Now it's got a squishy bit as well, I can feel there. I'm going to rip that off. Squishy bit. Yuck. But the rest are nice and firm. Now where is it? That way up. There's its growing stem. Oh, nice big fat tuber. Oh, don't drop it. Lots of little bits in this box. Oh, I can feel a heavy one down the bottom though.
Monster tuber coming up.
Oh, that's a gladioli. Okay, we'll take it. I forgot to put that in here. Survived really well. Nice and firm. Loads of tubers. A lovely, big, strong, healthy start for this year. I won't be putting this in a pot. Let's put that there. Blue box. What else have we got in here? Oh, another gladioli. A third gladioli. They've done quite well in here. Not how I'd usually think to store my gladioli bulbs, packed in sawdust, but it seems to have done them no harm. We'll find out if they start growing well this season. Right, another big one here. Oh man, that's heavy. Wow. Oh, can't get it out. Trying not to get sawdust everywhere. Whoa. Let me get hold of it. There.
It's hard to imagine just a year ago these were tiny tubers in packets from the shops, just like the ones you saw me plant a moment ago.
She's a big one. This, I think, needs dividing. Seems to be a good position there to separate it. I've got lots of growing stems here and some growing stems here, so I could probably cut it through the middle there and make 2 dahlia plants out of this. Oh, it feels really good. Nice and solid and firm. Now, you wouldn't get that sort of tuber in your packet at the shop. Oh yes, I can feel some more. It's like a lucky dip at the fairground. What's that? That's a tuber. Oh, there's its growing tip. Okay, nice. Another little one. Oh, something in this corner. Wow, can't believe how much I packed into this box. This is a smaller box as well. Another big tuber. Give it a shake. Fantastic. Now what's that? Oh no, just a bit of dirt. Okay, looking good. Feeling good as well. Right, any more? I think we've got them all. Yep, that's this box. We're all just dirty sawdust now. Can dry that out in the sunshine later in the year and use it again for next winter. Well, that was my first box sorted through. I've got 3 big tubers that I stored into that box and quite a few little ones, and surprisingly 3 gladioli bulbs I'd completely forgotten I'd put in there. So I'm going to rummage through my remaining 2 boxes, one of which you're standing on, and I'll bring you back and show you what we've got. It's looking good though. I see no reason why the other 2 boxes won't be just as good. Got a few rotten tubers, but they're only little tiny things. And they've not contaminated the rest of the box with rot and mould. So I'm really pleased. Right, let's get those next 2 boxes emptied. So that's my second small box unpacked. It had this beast in the bottom of it, and a second quite large dahlia, along with a handful of little ones. Now I've decided at the very last minute that I'm not going to unpack my 3rd and largest box of tubers. I'm not ready to plant them yet. It's still a little bit cold for them to go outside. I know it's got big tubers in like this. So I'm going to throw a towel or 2 over these tubers just to keep the chill off for the next week or 2, maybe 3, before I'm ready to get them out in the ground, because these are going to get planted directly outdoors this year. Last year they started as purchased tubers, and I put them in pots for the first month of their life before they got planted out into the garden. These big beefy boys are going straight out in the soil this year. So I want to wait till at least April, the ground temperatures get a little bit warmer, before I plunge them into that shock. And I don't know that I'm going to plant all of the little ones today. I'll certainly put up 6 or 7 of them, There's just so many, I'd forgotten how many I had. So I'll plant some of them, give myself a head start. And just like these big boys, I'm going to leave the rest lying out on this table, just with an extra towel thrown over the top for protection, and keep them in the darkness as well. Hopefully that might slow down them starting to sprout. But I'm not sure how much effect the light has. I'm sure it has some effect. So that's it for today. I'm going to leave box 3 sealed up. Having looked at these two, I'm really confident it's done just as well.
Now let's get back out into the garden.
It may be a little cold out here, but spring is springing. This is a cherry plum in full blossom at the moment. I can hear the gentle hum of insects around it as well. An early feast for them at this cold month of the year. I'm pleased to see my rhubarb coming up, looking quite strong and healthy this year, even though it's relatively small. It's really been struggling. It's been here about 2 years now, so this is probably year 3, if I remember rightly. And this is the healthiest it's ever looked. Now rhubarb's quite a hungry feeder, so I'm not going to take any leaves from it this year, because it's quite small, although it's looking great. But I will give it a handful of blood fish and bone and an extra top dressing of compost. So just sprinkling around its general area with quite a heavy dusting of the blood fish and bone.
And on with a top dressing of compost as well, about 2 inches over the surface of the soil. Feed that rhubarb and help mulch out any weeds that want to grow here.
There we go, the worms will work that all nicely into the soil and give this plant a bit of extra food. And hopefully next year it'll come back even bigger and stronger yet again. Some lovely healthy growth on this rhubarb at last. As I said, it's really struggled for the past couple of years. I see it starting to spread out as well. We've got at least 1, 2, 3 good growing points. I'm very happy. So I've got some muscari here that I have just rescued from elsewhere around the garden. It was drowning in grass. So I'm going to leave it here for this season, along with all the rest of my bulby plants. And hopefully next autumn, I'll be ready to replant them into my new growing flowery spaces. And I've also come across this pot of bulbs. Now I don't know what they are. Doesn't look like they're going to flower this year, but I seem to have a bit of an empty spot here. So I'm going to put the contents of this bulby pot into that empty place, and hopefully they'll fare a lot better than struggling in this pot. Now I think this is an empty space. I did plant all sorts of bulbs into this bed in late autumn, so I might start digging and find something that's a summer bulb that hasn't shown itself yet. I hope not. Get in for a close-up. This little fluffy leafed bulby plant.
It's a fritillary. There are 2 in this bed.
A tiny little flower developing in the middle. Oh, just had to show you that sky. Isn't it looking gorgeous? All blue with those fluffy white clouds. Now here I've got a very sad looking single pink hyacinth that's being completely swamped with all these grassy weeds. I think there's another one beside it as well with no flower bud. So I'm going to dig this spot, see if I can rescue those bulbs and move them into the bulb bed as well. Now they won't like it. It's not a good time to be moving it in full flower, but I'd rather do that than leave it here struggling for another year. It's done amazingly well though. once you get in close and pull out a bit of that grass, it's not as bad as it first looked. But a lot of this grassy stuff is actually chives. Nice and mossy in here. And I can see some crocuses as well. Let's see what I can rescue. Oh, I don't know how deep these are. Oh, it's moving.
I'm a little cautious. I don't want to split its leaves from its bulb and need the whole plant to come up together.
No, I think I'm going to have to get the spade in. Get a bit deeper. Oh,
Gently rocking my spade from side to side to work it deep into the soil under that bulb.
I think yes.
Oh, it looks like they're coming up. Wonderful. Let's hope I haven't damaged too much root.
Major disturbance. There we go, got the bulbs, yay! So I've got 2 here. Where have you gone? You're out of shot. There, we got them. So I'll get these, they were really deep. You see all this white is what was under the soil. So I'll get these potted into some nice compost. That can all go back. Yay! So I managed to rescue my 2 hyacinth bulbs. And about a foot away, I found a 3rd one in a deep purple. So I know I've got a shocking pink and a deep purple. I have no idea what colour this 3rd one is. It hasn't got a flower this year. So I'll get these planted in my bulb bed. I'll know where they are and they'll be ready when I'm ready to transplant them into their permanent flowering position, which is at the moment still being created. Let's get these in nice and deep.
Gosh, listen to that wind picking up. It still feels nice, even though it's getting windy.
I'm going to separate these 2. There we go, give them a little extra space. There, nice. And deeper still, that's better. I'm digging them in, so all of that white area of stem is buried under the compost. That's the height it was growing at naturally before. This one's actually not quite so deep. There we go, about there. Whoop, floppy. I maybe ought to take your flower off, really. You smell gorgeous. Or at least give you a stake, perhaps. I've got a wire mesh that's going round here. Perhaps that'll help hold it up. If that helps. There we go, that'll do. Lovely. At the end of this raised bed, I've got some leeks and some onions. Now they've been here for at least 3 years, maybe a bit longer. I let them grow each year for their flowers. The insects love the flowers and so do I, they're great fun. This one's looking really good this year though. I'm tempted to pull it up and eat it, but I won't, I will resist. There is also a lot of grass here as well. So I'm going to do a bit of weeding and tidy this up. Pull off all the dead stems. These will go in the compost as well. All last year's flower stalks. Because they're raised beds, no dig raised beds, other than digging to put a plant in or to get a weed out. A lot of weeds don't actually need digging. The soil's all soft and fluffy and you're able to pull out the weeds. Even some of the toughies like this grass. Oh, where's he gone? Come back, you. I'll come show you. A fat grub. A big fat beetly grub living in the soil, munching on all the roots. I'm going to throw that out into the grassland. Hopefully a bird will find him for supper.
Now back to weeding out that grass and tidying up this leek and onion bed.
This lot can go in the compost. It's a perfect time of year and weather for this. It's been raining for days. We've got more rain to come. So I'm catching this nice window in the weather to get some weeding done. The fact it's been wet for so long means the soil's nice and soft and moist.
Makes it all the easier for pulling up these weeds.
Not good for the fingernails, all full of mud. I do love it though.
A tip I picked up years ago is to dig your nails into a bar of soap before you start gardening. It stops all that mud getting in the first place.
Yeah, it's starting to look a little bit better. There's a little strip to do and we'll be finished. I don't know about gardeners having green fingers. This gardener's got muddy fingers. There we go, that's much more respectable. It didn't take long and wasn't too difficult. The benefit of no-dig raised bed gardening. Oh, one for Jason and Colleen. Stay awesome.
That's Jason and Colleen at Clive's Conundrum Garden.
Right, what's next?
Oh my, there's that wind again.
So in the next bed along from where I've just been weeding, I've decided I'm going to plant my shallots for this year. I did consider putting them at the opposite end of my permanent leeks and onions, but decided against it. Because those leeks and onions are always in that position and left to grow and flower, there's a higher risk they could develop some form of pest or disease. I'm only moving about 8 feet away, but it makes me feel a bit more comfortable that I'm lessening my chance of disease. Because this is different soil. This bed actually had dahlias growing in it last year. So a quick scruffle over the surface and we're ready to plant. The red sun shallots, golden gourmet shallots, which are falling out of the pack, and my supermarket shallots. We'll see how they get on. We're doing red sun. Oh, the red sun seems slightly larger bulbs. So where shall we put you? I don't know. Let's make a trench. Shall we put you in a row or a clump? Or half? I don't know. I could have you there and you there, couldn't I? Let's do that. So if I put a mark down the middle, and then in this bit we'll do our red sun. Just loosen it up a little, give their roots a chance of growing. Right, where should we put you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we got a 7th. They don't need to be particularly deep. Roots down, just enough for that little pointy shoot to be near the surface. Which way up do you go? Oh, you're 2, that's good. Where have we gone? There. This one's already 2 bulbs, so I'm going to separate them, giving each one a bit of root. Hopefully. Yes, we've got a little rooty bit there. And lots of root on this one. So I have 2 for the price of 1. Where do we have? You are going there. We'll have you here. There we go. Bonus bulb. You there. Are you in? Not really. There. fluffle you up. And the same on this side with these. Oh yes, and these. I'm going to put these where you're sitting right now. And I'm also going to throw a net. Where's it gone? Up there. Going to throw a piece of netting over here, because so that's a piece of netting on here as well. This is quite a stiff wire mesh, because I know the birds like to get in and pull them out when the tops start showing. Once they get big enough, this will be easy enough to slide up and off and use it elsewhere in the garden. Right, let's go and park the supermarket ones at the other end. Well, here I am back in the shed with these monstrous dahlia tubers, about to cover them up with a towel. So that's it for today's video. I will see you next time. And remember, whatever you're doing, have fun doing it.
If you've enjoyed today's video, click that like button and let me know. Click subscribe and YouTube will make sure you see my next video. Bye for now and thanks for watching. And remember, whatever you're doing, have fun doing it.